Hello there, and welcome to Andre's YouTube vlog for Friday, October 19th, 2012. Well, we're coming down to the last end of the 2012 presidential election in America. It's about 3 weeks from now, on November 6th. And, of course, the main presidential candidates that are debating right now are Republican Mitt Romney and current president and Democratic candidate Barack Obama. Now, of course, as long as Barack Obama has been in office, there have been one question after the other as to his personal integrity, shall we call it. Socialist? Is he a communist? Is he a Muslim? Is he a citizen? Is he part white? Is he part black? Is he this? We've heard this again and again and again. And basically, we know exactly who Mitt Romney is. He's Mormon. He has his beliefs that he sticks to, and that's all she wrote. But it never seems to be about that, does it? You look on Time magazine every week. There's always these talks about fact checks, who's telling the truth, and there's always these very strong implications behind it. That even after all these questions about President Obama, there's still a lot of people, even though they won't want to admit it, whose problems with him basically come down to the fact that he doesn't look like them. And most of us won't want to admit it. They won't, but I'll get into that a little bit later. I digress. Being a biracial person myself, all of my life, I have been trying to figure out what it is that causes people inherently to have racially based fears about other people, whatever race it happens to be, especially if there's a pigmentation difference, such as with the African American community. Now, a lot of people have suggested that it has to do with the black community achieving too much power and being in a position where they could enslave white people the way they enslaved them. Still yet others maintain loudly, and this I think is the most self-destructive philosophy, that racism is inherent in the human nature and that we are basically animals who fear and want to attack something different from us, and we cannot move beyond those biological urges. I have another theory I wanted to project to you. This is what I believe, and this is how I feel. I don't believe it has anything to do with it. That was incorrect terminology, actually. But again, it shows another issue with our human nature that I'm not discussing here. Our tendency to believe rather than to think rationally, and it's in all of us. I think we have to train ourselves out of that too. But back to my point. I am of the opinion that racism and fear of color or a black planet or whatever word you choose to use is not a contemporary issue that has anything to do with anything in the past 100 or 200 years. Slavery, segregation, politics, any of that. I think it might actually go to as far back as to the dawn of time itself, particularly early Anglo-Christian beliefs. Many of you out there are very much involved in reading the Bible, and you person is ascending into heaven. According to that story, they are going to the white light. The white light is a place of purity and harmony. And when you often hear the word white light, it symbolizes purity and harmony. You constantly hear black magic referred to as evil magic, as magic that is self-destructive, witchcraft and sorcery, or black magic often enough. There's that wonderful parallel again. We have white magic, which is considered to be pure. Now, I'm sure there are many of you out there who would put the old mythological constructs of black and white as basic primary colors as being preposterous in terms of our racial situation now, but I think it has a lot to do with it. People to this day still fear the dark, even when they're little children, even up to adulthood. And you can't tell me that with this very sophisticated ball of goo and with many sectors that we call our brains, that somewhere in there, a lot of us who have overt or hidden bigoted point of views don't draw the same differentiations between, say, black magic and the white light ascending into heaven to human beings. How do we know that some captain of some slave ship 100 years ago didn't see African people when they went there, who are often very close to black in color? They are that dark pigmented, often enough, and the color variation is very wide within that racial aspect of the world, and that's well known. But if they see very dark-skinned Africans, there's that fear of black magic, fear of the dark. Black meaning somehow evil or immoral. And you often heard slave ship captains and slave drivers often refer to the fact that, oh, well, these people are inferior and, they need our guidance. Again, white, Caucasian people being closer to white, being of a pure ascendancy, like the light into heaven, and the black community, or black people, or people who are darker than blue, as Curtis Mayfield might call it, as being somehow evil, and being somehow wrong, and being somehow sinful. I mean, these are very religious terms. But since this is often a nation under God, I don't personally subscribe to that point of view at all. If we're a society and a nation under God, and the black community and the Caucasian community both believe in God, often in their own different ways, what makes you think that the religion idea of the white light being good and the color black being bad doesn't affect the way we look at each other even to this day, clouded with all the politics and the racial wranglings of today? It could come down to a much more basic level than we think. And that's something you should definitely think about. Is black and white really a matter of good and evil when you go to the ballot box this year? Something you should definitely think about. Talk to you next time.